Okay, so welcome to Elements Mountain Compost presentation of building drought-resistant soils, the role of compost in water retention. This was originally presented at the Home and Outdoor Living Expo at the beginning of April in 2026, but in case you missed it, thanks for stopping by our page. So here's our table of contents. We'll go through what compost is, our greens versus browns, the role of microorganisms in compost, why we would commercially compost as opposed to backyard composting, a little composting 101, followed by some benefits of composting. And then we'll get into compost and water retention, and the impacts of composting, and then some cute photos of some compost in gardens, and our conclusion. So, what is compost? Compost is decomposed organic matter that has broken down into a nutrient-rich soil-like material. Our composting process utilizes a specific mix of carbon and nitrogen-rich materials to support oxygen-dependent or aerobic microorganisms to drive the system to break down organic matter over time. So the production of compost requires specific temperature phases that are followed by a curing period over several months. An indicator that the composting process has occurred is a significant reduction in organic matter volume. So you'll see the volume shrink significantly of the pile itself, and that odor will start to par back as well. It won't the material won't be as unstable, so those odors will shrink. Um, so, what is compost made of? Compost can be made from many things, but at Elements, we are producing compost solely from food and yard waste. So, we are a class one organics facility. We can't accept things like grease or manure, anything like that. So our greens versus browns. Our greens are going to be our nitrogen source, and those include food scraps, grass clippings, and other soft plant material, coffee grounds, tea bags, followed by our browns, which are our carbon source. And those include things like dead leaves, sawdust, wood chips, straw, pine needles, etc. So there is no exact ratio for a greens versus browns split, but ours is between a 50-50 and a two-thirds split. We monitor our piles and make changes as necessary. Microorganisms, so cute. So microorganisms feed on the material added to the compost. They use carbon and nitrogen and water to grow and reproduce, and they breathe oxygen. Their activity generates high temperatures that eliminate pathogens and weed seeds. So the microbes are the primary agents of decomposition in composting. They break down the materials into that nutrient-rich humus. They also permeate the soil and help it to bind together. And the biologically generated temperatures in composting destroy those harmful pathogens and weed seeds and stabilize the organic matter. The initial breakdown is called the mesophilic phase, and that reaches temperatures between 70 and about 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The second phase is called the thermophilic phase, during which the bacteria break down complex molecules, and as temperatures drop, fungi and bacteria break down those woody materials, stabilizing the compost. And then this occurs at temperatures between 113 and 167 degrees Fahrenheit. So, lots of people, in our area at least, do have backyard composting piles. So we wanted to outline why might we choose to commercially compost instead. So one reason is those high temperatures. The commercial compost piles that we form can reach temperatures of 131 to 167 degrees Fahrenheit. We need that to happen several times in order for the piles to go through full PFRP, which is processed to further reduce pathogens. Um, that's a regulatory standard which ensures the elimination of pathogens such as E. coli and salmonella, parasites, um, and again, weed seeds, but definitely things that we don't want getting into the soil in which we are growing our food. And then it also allows us to break down things like grease, dairy, meat, and certified compostable plastics. I know I said we didn't actually accept grease, but in small amounts, it does break down much more effectively in these large piles. So the regional difficulties are a factor as well. Our climate is very dry. We have some rapid temperature fluctuations here. And between those two things, stabilizing piles without considerable intervention is pretty difficult. And the third is efficiency. So, commercial composting allows for businesses like bars and restaurants who would not otherwise have the ability to compost and divert their organic waste um, to run their businesses more sustainably. And there's the finished product. Large-scale operations like Elements are also monitored by compliance agencies like CDPHE, which is the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, adding another layer of confidence that the final product is balanced and safe. So, a little plug for us here. We are Elements Mountain Compost. So, we have three different collection programs. We have a curbside, a commercial, and a drop-off collection program. So, the curbside and drop-off programs are for residents, and the commercial compost programs are for bars and restaurants, other businesses as well. But they're designed for cleanliness, ease, and convenience. Our event composting. You can make your next event zero waste by diverting food waste and compostable serviceware, such as cups, plates, napkins, etc., from the landfill. And then we have our bagged and bulk compost sales. So we have our compost, our finished product made from all locally sourced feedstock, available in bagged or bulk quantities. Excuse me. Here are soil products. So first we have our sifted compost. We have a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. Helps to enhance the soil health to boost plant growth and agricultural productivity. So the sifted compost is that decomposed organic matter that acts as a powerful soil conditioner, nutrient-rich fertilizer, and moisture retainer. The cocoa coir is made from cocoa husk and perlite root balls, and that's a fluffy, water-absorbent amendment that is great mixed with compost or as a growing medium for sprouts and hydroponics. And then biochar, which is actually a stable carbon-rich form of charcoal. So that's used to boost nutrient retention in plants, improve water retention in soils, and it can enhance plant growth by an average of about 10%. Every year in the fall, we do a biochar burn at our facility, which is really fun, and y'all should stop by. Keep an eye out for that. So, when should we apply compost? Compost application is most effective in the spring and fall in alignment with soil's natural preparation and plant growth cycles, which allows nutrients to stabilize without overwhelming or harming the plants. Fall application allows organic matter to decompose over winter, improving soil structure, while spring application boosts nutrients just before active growing phases and enhances moisture retention and soil aeration. How should we apply compost? So there are a couple different methods for this. There is top dressing, which is application of a few inches of compost over a lawn or a garden bed. Typically, this is a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch about for a lawn or a native mix, or about 1 inch over a raised bed. Amending the soil, mixing it into the soil, is the application of 2 to 3 inches of compost mixed into the top 6 to 8 inches of topsoil annually, so every year. And every year you'll see that soil's health improve more and more. The third is using it as mulch. You can add in extra wood chips, which promotes a slower decomposition rate, and spreading a 1 to 3 inch layer will allow the wood chips to block sunlight from reaching those weed seeds. We also have some light versus heavy feeder examples. So different plants have different compost needs, and this may affect how much compost you want to add to each garden bed. So some examples of heavy feeders are tomatoes, cucumbers, corn, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, melons, and potatoes. And then examples of light feeders would be things like lettuce, radishes, carrots, beets, turnips, basil, and cilantro. So maybe you used some compost. Maybe you've used compost in a garden bed or on a lawn before and it didn't go well, didn't go the way you expected. So a couple of things to ask yourself. Was my compost finished? Did we use unfinished compost? Did we maybe apply too much compost? Did we mix the compost in thoroughly enough? Um, or was the particle size potentially incorrect? So, using unfinished compost can harm plants by causing nitrogen starvation. It can attract pests. It can release phytotoxic chemicals, which really just means, poisonous to plants. Or it can even cause heat damage or pathogen issues. Um, and then the bottom three really have to do with soil particle size. So that's classified into three main textural groups based on diameter. And without getting it, too nitty gritty, literally, that dictates porosity, water retention, and aeration. So when mixing compost with soil, too many fine particles can create high density, leading to reduced porosity, while too many large particles may fail to integrate well with the soil. So what about some benefits of composting correctly? Um, for one thing, it reduces the waste in landfills. Recent estimates for the Chaffee County landfill suggest a limited remaining lifespan of approximately 2 to 7-ish years, driven by high usage volumes. Older projections used to suggest that we had something like around 100 years. But the current active cells are filling quickly. We already have expansion plans. We just finished a new cell. So we're having capacity issues. She's getting full. And about 40% of what goes into the landfill is organic waste. So we have the ability to keep so much of what's going into our landfill out of it. And that, in turn, obviously prevents a lot of GHGs from going into the atmosphere. Second, it improves the soil structure. So again, in soils that are too tight, compost helps to loosen the soil, whereas in compost that is too loose, it helps to kind of clump the soil together. And this balancing allows plants to develop healthier root systems, which contributes obviously to healthier growth. It also balances pH levels. So pH is the measure of acidity and alkalinity in soil, water, etc., but we're talking about soil. So essentially, what you want is for the soil to neither be too acidic nor not acidic enough. So a pH of 7 indicates neutrality, and that's about what you're aiming for in your soil. Most composts have a pH of between 6 and 8. So whether your soil is too acidic or not acidic enough, it's going to bring it back to that balance around, a 7 or an 8. Um, and obviously, it enhances nutrient uptake and water retention, which is why we are watching this presentation. So let's get into it. What do we mean by water retention? So when we say water retention, what we mean is the soil's ability to hold water for future plant use. Compost application can help to prevent lateral drainage and evaporation through its ability to absorb. So as you can see, our soil here in the Rocky Mountains is pretty gravelly and sandy. It doesn't hold water well, which can lead to water draining laterally into the street or partially evaporating, right? Um, and why does that matter? Um, Obviously, we want our plants to take in that water and be able to hold it. We don't want it to go all over the place or evaporate. So, the role of compost in water retention. Organic matter acts like a sponge with the ability to absorb and hold up to 90% of its weight in water. Compost improves water retention by up to 200% in sandy soils. Um, that's pretty impressive for this area, and it's definitely going to become more and more important. It improves the soil structure, as we were talking about, helps to clump the soil together, increasing the permeability of the water through the soil. And then it releases water slowly. So the ability to hold more moisture and improved soil structure allows for the water and nutrients to be released consistently to roots. So for example, a lawn top dressed with compost, a 15 to 30% reduction in irrigation needs is realistic. So for a lawn of 100 square feet, about 1,000 to 1,600 gallons of water could be saved per year, which is pretty impressive. So why does water retention matter? So obviously we want to give our plants a consistent water supply. And with the application of compost, um, the soil's ability to hold the water improves drastically, allowing the roots to access moisture more readily between waterings. This facilitates nutrient uptake. So compost contains extra nutrients that plants crave, but water is necessary to dissolve these nutrients and transport them to the roots, right? We need that water to move the nutrients from the soil up into those root systems. And this can build drought resilience. So when roots are able to access hydration and nutrients between waterings, they do not require as much. So that becomes really helpful in drought conditions because, the effects of drought on plants, stress weakens the natural defenses of a plant, which reduces photosynthesis, which causes their growth to struggle. And that, can eventually cause root damage, which damages the ability of the plant to take in those nutrients at all. So, a little recap. Um, the impacts on plant growth. Consistent supply of moisture and nutrients reduces the plant stress and droughts. This enhances root development, which leads to happier plants and increased yields. And there we have John Denver with some very happy plants. Looks like he definitely used compost. And we have some sustainability impacts. So, reduced irrigation needs mean reduced water consumption. Reduced water consumption means water conservation, which increases drought resilience and supports sustainable land use. And here's some lovely photos of gardens that have utilized compost. I really need to get some before and afters, but for now, these are just plants being really happy, dancing around, showing off in the compost. And so, our conclusion, compost is a simple yet powerful way to build healthier soils while conserving water. By improving soil structure and increasing moisture retention, it supports plant growth, which makes for more successful and resilient gardens, lawns, and farms. Compost offers a practical, sustainable solution for better growing outcomes. So thanks for watching. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to submit them to us. You can hit us on our Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, you can contact us at any and all of those email addresses down there. If you want to find us through that QR code, the odds are you already found us. Otherwise, I don't know if you'd be watching this presentation, but we appreciate you and have a great day.